Hey everybody, it's Dave with No Chaser, and for today's topic, well, I'm in early recovery and I'm very aware of things going on in my mind, and probably too much awareness going on. I don't know. Anyways, so I didn't have work today, and so I had a day to run errands and take care of some things. Just kind of a open free day to do what I please. And I began the day. I woke up and I had a iced coffee, and I took a drink of that, and I thought, hmm. And then I was like, okay, I don't feel any different. It's kind of a blah, but I will go and work out. That's what the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get those endorphins going. And so I worked out, and after that, I was like, hmm. Then I pulled open my phone and I went through a couple of apps, checked some emails on some things I've been working on, checking the feedback of some things. Maybe I'll get some dopamine hits from that. Just checking in on some compliments or something. Felt, hmm. I don't know if you're like starting to see the pattern here, but this is something that I wasn't aware I was doing. Is that I was going through my day and I was still, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm not really feeling anything. Like, I'm not really feeling, you know, much. I feel kind of like this low grade depression, emptiness, just for the time being. But, I'm doing these things, and I went and I did some big carrot things, like, talk about like the little carrot that you chase throughout the day, and then you have your bigger goals, big carrots. And I went and I looked into like this career field and how to get into it, and I thought that would kind of turn my mood around. And yet again, I was like, hmm. And I don't know what you were thinking about this right now, but I know when I wasn't conscious of that I was doing this and having this expectation of something, that I needed to like feel some boost from this, that I needed to feel a boost from the coffee, and I didn't get that. I needed to feel like a boost or feel better, feel my mood change after working out, and I didn't get that. And I had been doing these things and not realizing that I was expecting something from them. In this way, I was still doing this quid pro quo in my mind of I need to do these things to feel better. And you know, that is one thing that has been so incredibly difficult as far as you talk about in recovery and getting over, addiction and alcoholism. And it could be anything. You could extrapolate this to a bunch of different like areas of life, but just like kind of a mindset that you have that, I say it in these terms, and I wish I could put it more eloquently, but it is this mindset: if I do this thing, I will get a thing. If I do this thing, I will like have my mood increase. I will have like a little spark of something. I'll have a little dopamine hit. If I scroll through these apps, like some of these things could be totally subconsciously that you're doing it, but I go through this stuff. I have my morning coffee and I need to feel that elevation, and then like, ooh, okay, now I'm ready to start my day. Or I have, whether it be like the cigarette or the energy drink, or it could be like something that you do, like you start your day and you sit out and you're in nature, which is good. But even in that, if you're like having the expectation of having your mood be elevated, and I realize, this is like for so much of my life that has been like where my mind has been at, where there's this like sort of like waiting with bated breath, like, hmm, when is the thing gonna kick in? And it's still working under the same sort of parameters of that addictive mind, where is if I do a thing, I will get a thing. So if I drink a liquid, I will feel a certain way. If I pop a pill, I'll feel a certain way. Like whatever it may be, whether you smoke a thing or inject a thing or snort a thing, and it's still doing that, but you're doing it with much more like safe for work activities, I guess, or even in healthier things. I know a lot of people have like turned over from they got addicted to working out and the feelings that it would cause. And like I had done like these sort of heavy workout like CrossFit things with other recovery people, and it feels great, and it feels like a bonding experience and everything like that. But even then, my sneaky little brain would just start setting these expectations of, all right, when I do this thing, I need to feel better after it. It is still not just merely doing the thing and experiencing it and being in this sort of present moment, because here's one of the biggest things that I like realized what I didn't understand about how to live in the present moment. Like, to me, I thought that living in the present moment is just being super focused, being super aware, being super mindful, and knowing what's going on with everything. Now, being mindful and all that stuff is important, and the awareness and blah blah blah. That's a part of it. But what I was missing out is that living in the moment, living in this sort of present moment and being there for the day, or not just the day, but the moment, is not having those expectations of when you do something, you will receive something in some way, whether you're trying to hack your brain in some way to feeling better. I mean, that's the same thing. Like, I could even go to like recovery meetings, and for when I speak at them, or when I like talk, or when I see people afterwards, or just just breaks at work, looking forward to those, like it's still compartmentalizing these things in this way to where when this thing happens, I will have my little nougat of sort of enjoyment. And it's just, man, it is hard to break that. It is so difficult to get out of that sort of quid pro quo mindset of life is based on these expectations of me being this certain way and doing these things and receiving something back, getting this sort of feedback. And I like, one of the biggest things as I've been like just reflecting a lot and going through this kind of whirlwind of like changes like psychically in my mind, and over this past month, and just a lot of things have been going on, a lot of like big revelations and just shakeups in my brain, is just that like moving away from this sort of like pleasure model of the way things are, of life, of the enjoyment of life, and moving on to things like purpose and meaning. And that can be so difficult to find in an everyday world. Like it's one thing it's hard enough just to move from your typical like pleasure or enjoyment model of things, where you have like the snack, or you have the little vice, or you have the TV show, or you have the break, or you have the whatever it may be, the sex, the masturbation, the nap, the whatever, those like things that you look forward to and you place your enjoyment upon. It's hard enough to move away from that model of being, but to move into like a life of meaning and purpose is also difficult, because it's difficult to find that in just everyday stuff. You do your everyday job, and it's just like, I work at some like retail place, and I just move boxes from here to there, and there's a whole super lot of meaning of that. And I don't know, like some people maybe can put it in their mind of like they're supporting and raising their family, and there's a lot of meaning in that. But for people that are young, or people that are like me, I guess, I don't know, that don't quite have those things, it's like, well, like the idea of being the provider is not really in my mindset of what I will place upon like meaning or purpose. And so like, helping others is like one of the biggest things. I like, that is the one thing in my mind. Like, I'm doing this volunteering thing this weekend, and the one thing in my mind is like, that is always a way to find that purpose and meaning without, sort of that enjoyment model of things, and with, just doing good as well too. Like doing something that is not only worthwhile, but it takes me out of my own head. And, it's like one of those things, like many things in life, like, why don't I do that more often? And, I just, that's gotta be more into that in my life, I guess. I don't know, but I just had sort of that, again, once of the many revelations I've been going through of just my life, if like this moving on from this like enjoyment model of things. I know I'll fall back into it, and it's just not something that I just decide and change immediately, but trying to go forth from that. So I'm just trying to, radically change my life, I guess. But I don't know. If any of you are in the same spot, I hope this resonates with you, or if you've been there before and you've found something that helps, put it in the comments below, or, give me some feedback or something, or what's worked for you. Other than that, be well.